Hey, everybody. So good to have you here. My name is Laura Nash. I am the owner and designer at So Chic Pattern Company. You can see my sign here behind me. I am also a Craftsy teacher. My class is the tea dress, flirty, what is it called? Vintage, sewing vintage, the flirty day dress. So I want to give kudos to Craftsy because they were the first one to come up with this flirty day dress idea. And now everybody's doing flirty, right? So in that class, I teach you how to make the tea dress, one of my patterns, and it's still available today. So if you want to take that class, I highly recommend it. I am also a simplicity pattern designer. I have several patterns with them. Nancy, hey Nancy, so glad to have you from Seattle. Let's see. Oh, Katie. Katie has a question. Good. I am going to finish with my intro, and then Katie, I'll get to your question. So I am an author. This is my book. It's called Pattern Alterations for a Beautiful Bust. And in this book, it is like a workbook. So you work through it one step at a time. And it's only about bust alterations, how to work with patterns with and without darts or with a princess seam. So you can take advantage of that. And today I want to talk about what is a pattern hack. So we're going to turn a pattern from a pant into a skirt. And we call it hack. That's kind of a term that's come up to mean that we hack into the pattern and make it something that it's not already. And so our hack today is turning a pant pattern into a skirt pattern. And Katie asks, she has a pair of jeans that are too big and she needs to take them up in the waist. And I'll tell you, Katie, that's a problem that I have too, because I always end up with this dumb gap in the back. I hate that, right? So with jeans, the fabric is usually so thick and heavy that it's hard to like alter and make it smaller. But I'll tell you that the best place to alter anywhere is at the center back. The problem with jeans is that there's a flat felled seam there. It's like double thickness, right? They've sewn it down, triple stitches, and makes it hard to get to. So if you really, really, really have to take those pants in, the best place would be at this dart area in your pant. This back dart, just take the waistband off altogether and then take up that dart so that it fits your waist, sew the pant back on, cut off the waistband, and put your button back on where you need it to be. You're going to have to keep the buttonhole, of course, because you don't want to lose that. But, you know, that's kind of the quick version of altering. Altering is different from hacking. So hacking, you have a pattern already. You just want to tweak it or make it a little bit different. So thank you for that question. Now I'm going to be working with a 2-camera system here. I've got my front camera and I've got an overhead camera, which you're going to see my head kind of tipping over because when I switch to the camera, I've got to reach forward. But first, I want to go over the pattern that we're going to be working with today. And this one is called the Palazzo pant. This is a new pattern for me. It just came out last spring. So it's got 2 versions with the bib or without the bib. And they have a button front and a big pleat. They're very wide-legged pants, as Palazzo pants are. So that's what we have back here. These are the Palazzo pants, all with the bib. Because the bib is super cute, right? But I'm wearing the pair that does not have the bib. This is without the bib, and this is how they fit. You want them to just glide off your hip in the front and in the back into a really wide pant leg that looks the best if you're using a soft fabric, because soft fabrics are going to swish around and make you feel luxurious and beautiful. And on a stiffer fabric, these pants are just going to be sort of stiff and very extended, as it were. So if you're looking for that kind of a look, you certainly can do that. And if you want the softer look, then that is okay too. These pants will handle either one. With the pleat in the front, you get extra everything. There's also a shorts version. So if you want to make a skirt, want to make your shorts into a pair of skirt, you can do that. Sorry, I'm wobbling around here. So there's the pant. And if you had the bib on this, wouldn't that be so cute? So these pants are really meant to look like a skirt, but why not just make them into a skirt? Now, most pants, this isn't going to be a problem with. There's going to be some considerations that we're going to take into account with the pattern that you need to use. It doesn't have to be with my pattern. You could use another pattern, but there are some things that you want to think about. And if you've got the outline, I talk about how the fly front is fine. We just have to be careful about details that are going to get in the way. The whole idea behind this hack is that you're going to cut off the inseam, right? We want to cut that out and make it into a skirt rather than a pant, but there are other considerations as well. So in order to get it to hang right, we're going to go over those today. So so say you wanted to choose a pant that had a tighter leg to it. Those could be used, but you would end up with a tight skirt as well. So there would have to be some really cute detail on the pant that you just couldn't live without in order to make that worth the trouble. But any pant pattern is certainly acceptable. Okay, so let's go over the supply list that you're going to need. And of course, you need your pattern. And I've put my pattern on the list because mine is the one you're going to be working with. So if you try it first with the exact pattern that I'm using, then you try it on a different pattern, it will be a lot easier for you the second time around. So I highly recommend that you get this pattern, try it for the first time, see how it goes, make it up, and then try it again with some other pant patterns to see how that works. And the translation will work pretty well. I always use a Dritz Superboard, and it looks like this. It's a piece of cardboard. It goes on any table. It's not quite as wide as our fabric is. So you will need, sorry about the phone. So if you use one of these, it helps to make your seams and your lines, especially on a long pant, they're going to be nice and straight. If you're just using a short ruler, which is the next thing on the list, 24-inch ruler, of course you can find it. You can also use an 18-inch. This is the gridded ruler. They come in red and in blue. And this is my 24-inch ruler. And it's nice and long. That's why I like it. But any kind of straight line will work fine. And that's why I use the Dritz Superboard, because I've got a straight line all the way down and I don't have to end up with a crooked line somewhere. I also use a highlighter, and this is to mark my pattern lines so that I don't get mixed up with which line I'm trying to meet or match. I have a pencil, and I hope this one's dark enough. This is my 6B drawing pencil. Regular pencils are just 2B, so 6B is going to be a little bit longer. Let's see, I've got scissors on my list, so any scissors will work. It doesn't matter. Some people make a big fuss over paper scissors and fabric scissors. It's actually using the scissors that dulls them. It makes no difference what you're cutting. So you wouldn't want to cut wire, because then it puts little chips in your in your scissors, but any pair of scissors will be fine that are sharp. A measuring tape, which I didn't bring over with me, but a black Sharpie I use to mark my notches, because otherwise I forget to mark those on my pattern. So a black Sharpie just over all of those notches helps, and an iron makes your pattern flat. Now, I use this iron on my pattern paper and right on top of my Dritz Superboard, because it's a little bit thick. It won't ruin, the moisture can't get down. You do want to turn it on to off for the steam, but every once in a while there's a little bit of steam that gets out, and you will just put it right over the top of your pattern, on top of your Superboard on a low heat, and iron out all of those lumps and bumps from the folding that was done with your pattern. And the last thing I think is we've got some optional things like pattern paper. That's if you cut something off that you shouldn't have and you need to tape it back on, or matte transparent tape. This is my go-to. And I use matte transparent because you can draw on top of it. Your pencil will draw over this, your pen, anything you mark. Probably not a highlighter because it's water-based, but a Sharpie most certainly. And that is so that if you need to tape something back together and then draw over the top of it, you're going to be just fine. And then a yardstick would be, of course, a substitute for any of the rulers that you have. All right. Does anybody have any questions? I encourage you to ask me anything you need to while I'm talking, because then it's better to answer the question then than to wait until later after we've all forgotten and gone past it all. So I'm going to switch cameras now. And I've talked about pattern considerations. We've talked about your supply list, and you will also need to sort your patterns, which I've already done. And I've already highlighted my, hey, hi, Katie. So glad to see you. Glad you could meet me here. So you can see how I've highlighted my size on my pattern, and I've already marked them with my my Sharpie. Now you don't have to fill them in, but you can. This one's filled in, this one is not, but it sure makes it stand out a lot better, doesn't it? So this little bit of extra work goes a long way when it comes to cutting out your pattern so that you don't get confused or mixed up on what goes where. The next thing that we're going to do is press your pattern. So go ahead and use your low iron, no steam, low heat iron right on top of your Dritz Superboard and get that nice and flat. And then after your sizing decisions have been made, which I'm not going to be talking about today, then you'll want to do all this marking on yours. Okay. So I'm going to work on my Superboard down here. I'm going to switch cameras so that you can see what I'm doing. And here's the part where we're all going to work together on this project. Okay. So glad to have you guys with me. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Let me switch to my other camera. And there we go. So hopefully you can see all this just fine. You're going to see my head in the way a little bit. There's some of my tools sitting here. All right. And it really helps. Now I'm using a pattern that is 75% of the full size. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want you to be able to see my whole pattern. Sorry, I had to take a drink of my water. So you can see my whole pattern in my camera rather than a really long one that I have to scoot around and you can't see what I've done with the whole piece. But as you can see, highlighting all of these really makes a difference and you can see them so much better. Okay, we're going to start with the back piece. And here's what my full-size pattern piece looks like. And you can see that you can't really see the whole thing in the camera. But we're going to start with the back because it's going to be the easiest piece to work with. And what we want to do, our whole goal is to get this curve cut out so that we can extend this. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm right-handed, I'm going to want to see it from this direction. I'm going to fold this pattern in half, basically with the grain, and I want to match it up with my hem down here and this seam right here. So I want to match up at the waist and with the grain. See, there's my grain line. You can barely see it underneath. You can barely see it underneath my paper, but I can see it through my paper. And I'm going to use some pins to pin this down right on that grid to make sure that I've got it just about right, and I do. So you can see that my grain line and my fold line are exactly perfect. They're right on with each other. That means that I've done a good fold, that it's matching along this line. My waistline is in alignment, and I'm going to use this outside line on the side seam to figure out how much to cut off of this side. So I'm going to put a mark right here because I've highlighted it. Put a mark right here. And then put a mark right here. Now you'll notice on this hem that they don't match up. You see that? This one is a little bit higher than this one. I'm going to have to come back and correct that and shorten this hemline on the inside. So right now I'm going to open this up and I'm matching up this line right here with my super board. So I've got a straight line right here. Pin that in place and follow. I'm following this line all the way down to here. And there's my mark. Here's my mark because I want to stay on the same grid that I've got on the super board. The super board is my guide to tell me if I marked straight or not. And then I'm going to use my marker so you can see exactly where I'm going to mark. Maybe you can't see that other end. Let me move this up a little bit. There we go. There we go. And I'm going to follow this line because my paper is transparent. I can see right through it. And I can follow this line all the way up. And this now becomes my center back seam. Maybe I need to use a different color. How about red? There we go. I'm looking on the camera and it seems like it's not quite bright enough. Maybe red will be a better bright color for you. Nice and dark. Now you can see it. Now, because there's a seam allowance in here, that means there's a seam allowance all the way down. And now all we need to do is add a notch or two, because this is a really long line on your pattern and it sews to itself. So we're going to do the right and the left center back seam. Those are going to match themselves. So put a little clip mark here, 2 of them, and put 2 clip marks here. And that says, this is where I want my notches to be. And making sure that they're not the same as those other ones. So now you've got a notch here and a notch up here. And this is ready to cut. And I'm cutting off a little bit of this curve here. Now, because my pants are full, they might be a little bit different from the grain that you're going to see on your pants. Some pants will have a grain line that is parallel to the center back. And if that's the case, if you think about your backside, it's very hard to fit a pant that has a grain that is parallel to center back, because our backside is curved. And then this becomes garbage. We can throw all that away. So now what I need to do is remember that curve down there at the bottom. I'm going to turn this over. We've got to fix this hem so that it's parallel, so that curve kind of goes along the same way. Because of this being underneath us in the crotch area, it's a little bit longer. So I'm going to match it. Oh, and here I'm using the black marker again when I meant to use red. And my lighting is kind of like glaring on you. There, maybe this is a better place. So here we are. I'm just simply matching what's underneath. I want to match that curve so that the curve of my skirt is perfect all the way around. And that's how much extra there was. You see that difference? That's how much difference there was. So I'm going to cut that off. And now when I cut out my pattern, the curve of my skirt will be appropriate. And now this becomes, this is the center back seam. And the only consideration for this seam then is when I get to the pattern piece where it says sew the center back, I will just continue this line all the way down. And I don't need to go along this curve or do the inseam. Okay. And this grain line is accurate because I was straight on the grain when I did my curve. I don't need to change anything there. So this grain is perfect. This grain is centered on the curve of the skirt. So this grain is where I need it to be. If you need to change the grain so it's centered on your skirt, you would use this fold line here that we folded in half, and that way your curve would be centered. The grain would be centered down the middle of your panel there. Okay, that would be typical. All right, pattern piece done. So now we get to do the center, the front. Now, because we've got a pleat on here, it's going to be a little bit different. Now remember that it's got if you're working with a different style of pattern, so that if there's some special detail, you know exactly how it's supposed to be, how it works with each other, so you are familiar with the assembly process. So all I did here was fold along this fold line, and it states right on the pattern that this is a fold line. See, it says fold line right there. And I can see that line. And I'm going to pin it how it sews to the pattern here. And I use flathead pins because they lay flat, and these are nice for working with pattern pieces, because then you don't have to worry about this bump on your pattern. And this is how the fold happens. It sits right over the top like this, over the top of the match line on the other pattern piece. This says match line here on this side, and this says fold line on this side. And so the fold line of the front matches the match line of the side front. And we're going to work with these as one piece. So now we've got these together as if they were one pattern piece. And then we can do exactly the same thing that we did before and cut off the inseam here. So I'm going to fold this in half, and it's probably going to be right along that fold line. What I'm trying to do is match up the waistline. I don't want to change the waistline, and I'm matching up the side seam to match the center front. And I'm also trying to get the grain straight. For this pattern piece, because we've got a pleat on here, and we need the grain to be straight with the pleat. So here I've got a little bit of a curve, and that's okay, because this is the front, and we've got a little bit more curve on a front pattern piece than we do on the back. If you were to lay your back and your front pattern pieces over the top of each other, or a skirt pattern, you would find that there's more curve in the front than there is in the back. And so now we're ready to mark with our pencil. We're ready to mark this line to match the side seam, giving our skirt a little bit of a curve, or not curve, but a little bit of a flare in the front as well. And you can see that this one is perfectly matched down at the hem, which is nice. Okay, so now we're going to match up our current line, our current center front, with the marks that we made down here. This pattern piece is a little bit longer, so hopefully you can see everything. And I'm picking a line on my grid to match it to, and that matches up perfectly all the way down, from here all the way down to here. So I've got my ruler, and I'm going to follow my my grid from the Dritz Superboard. And again, I need the right pencil and red for you so you can see it. There we go. There's my line. And what do I need to add next? I love interacting with my students and letting you tell me. Let's see here. Oh, okay. I've been missing all these comments. Okay, let's see. This comment comes from Nora. I want the blouse I'm wearing. Oh, you're so sweet. So this blouse, which I'll tell you about before I leave, is the portrait blouse. And it comes with 3 colors. And this bow tie is just one of the colors. The other one is a Peter Pan. And okay, so you guys know, hey, Arlene, nice to meet you. Okay, so what do we add next? You know what we did from the first time? We need to add notches, right? So on the center front, they're usually typically single notches. So we add notches here, notches there, and here we go. Here we go. And there's our notches so that we can match everything back up the way it's supposed to be. Our grain is already perfect, but if it wasn't perfect, you would have to realign that either to be center front or aligned with on the center of your panel. Those are the 2 most acceptable ways. And of course, now that I've done this little thing here, I've got to make sure I pop out those notches because then I can remember and see them. Cut this piece off. And there we go. And see, I didn't mark this one, so I was about to forget it. Notch here. I need those notches. Notches are good things. Lots of people cut those off, but notches are a benefit. They help make sure that your pattern is actually going together the way it was intended. If your notches don't match up, then that should be the first sign that something is desperately wrong. And do not proceed until you find out what is wrong, okay? So this piece becomes garbage. Okay, I have a comment. It's from Fairy Fox. A big problem is getting a pattern that looks good on me. I wind up all the way to the muslin, then yuck. I hate it. Oh no. Are you looking at patterns that are suitable for your figure maybe? If it's not a problem with fit, is it a problem with fit or is it a problem with style? Those are the 2 things that I would wonder about. So I am going to take my pins out and then I open up my pattern piece. And voila, my pattern piece is done. I can make a skirt now, 75% the size of a real person. And this is the side front piece. Okay, let me switch my camera, see if you guys have any more questions for me. Well, sorry, I'm always getting in the way here. My head is getting in the way. Okay. Here we are, yay. Okay, so I wonder, Fairy Fox, I wonder what the issue is. Do you think it's that you are choosing styles that are not correct or not attractive for your figure, or maybe you don't like the style you think you like? Or is it, oh, it is a problem with the style. Oh, you know what? I love doing styling classes because I am all about choosing styles that are suitable for the figure. Well, I think the skirts look great on everybody. It's the style of skirt that you might be looking at, right? What kind of style might be most suitable for your figure? So that is another class altogether, right? There's one we can do. Okay. Yamola asks, where did I learn to make my patterns from? Oh, very good question. So I have a degree in apparel design. I got my degree from Oregon State University, and it's actually a 4-year degree. So yeah, and I've been in business for 16 years. So I've been doing pattern making for a very, very long time, and I have a college degree in apparel design. That's how I got started. So Yolanda also asks, could you recommend some websites where I can make my own patterns from tailored to fit me? No, because I don't follow those kinds of websites. So I wouldn't know where you would do that. But pattern making is a very technical field. So if you want to learn how to do pattern making, I wholly recommend that you get a degree yourself. There's even 2-year degrees. Now, what you would learn in a 2-year degree versus a 4-year, I really can't tell you. But if there are any, 2-year degrees near you, then go for it. Get some experience in it and find out for yourself how this works. I do a lot of pattern hacks myself. In my group, the So Chic Pattern Sew and Share group on Facebook, I do a lot of pattern hacks. So I sort of teach people how to do pattern making, but with a pattern that's already been developed. So if you had a sloper or a master pattern for yourself that worked and fit for you, through those pattern hack classes, you would learn some of those skills. Kathleen says, are my patterns available in the UK? Absolutely, yes. Go to Minerva. You already probably know about Minerva. Minerva.com has all of my patterns. They carry the whole line, plus my book. So there you go. You're not missing out on anything if you are in the UK or if you're overseas or in Europe. They have everything, including the pant pattern we use today. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? There might be some more questions here that I missed. Let's see. You love the blouse I'm wearing. Okay. Yes. So this is a portrait blouse. You want to go to my website, sewchicpatterns.com. That's spelled SEWCHICPATTERNS. I know it's really long, but Laura Nash Sewing will probably get you the same thing. And you will be able to find the portrait blouse, and it comes with 3 colors, of course. One is a Peter Pan, so it doesn't have a bow, but it's a small collar just like this. And the other one is a big, broad collar, which I can't show you because I don't have my garment rack right here. But anyway, it comes with 3 colors. And let's see, did I miss anybody else? Hello, hello, hello. Okay. All right. I think I have everything. Oh, looks like there's one more. Oh, Katie, she gives me an up arrow. All right. Well, if you have no more questions for me, then I guess my job is done here. Just be sure to read your instructions well. Read them before you get started so that you understand what goes together. And then you'll understand how, and why we did what we did. Okay. Yolanda is curious about my career and is asking what I do for full-time work. This is my full-time job, dear. Yes, this is my full-time job. I've been in business for 16 years. My career, I started in 2007, and I have been making patterns ever since. I've got about 35 35 or more patterns. I have about 70 garments that I take with me to shows. I do attend a lot of shows. I have worked for Craftsy. Like I said, I did the tea dress pattern for them. I have worked with Simplicity Patterns. I have several patterns that I've done for them. I think most of those are out of print now, but maybe not. Maybe not. A couple of them ended up on the front cover of the catalog. Let me grab one of those. So I can show you this one. This one is the London coat dress. So I have this in my line, and also Simplicity sold it. And this one was for Christmas, so they put that on the front cover as their most exciting design. And this one was for fall. This is, I call this the Taylor dress because it looks a little bit like something Liz Taylor would wear. So this was another design that I did for Simplicity. So after that, then I've just been doing live sessions. I do a lot of teaching at the shows that I do. As a matter of fact, I am headed next week. If you guys are anywhere near Florida, I am doing a show at a live show there called So Magical. It's in Kissimmee, Florida. It's right by Disney World. And I will be teaching a glove class. My gloves are gone. I would show you otherwise. Darby, you want to bring me some gloves? Okay. She's, and I do this full time. And Darby, you want to come say hi? This is my cute assistant, Darby. And she helps me out here with a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Thank you, Darby.
Of course.
So these are the gloves we're going to be making because, of course, this is Disney and we want to be looking fabulous there. And this is my long glove. There is a short glove. We'll be making the short glove. So let's see. That's interesting. You make it easy to follow. I will look at Minerva. All right. Big thank you to you guys, and thank you for joining me. And I guess that's it. So join me later, and I'll see you later.